Check the mic and
Saw
make
that
sure
you
it
tweeted
sound
about
right,
Northwoods.
boys.
Yeah, it's a top 3 wooded course.
I
I think New London, Northwoods. I haven't decided what order, but New London, Northwoods, and WR Jackson,
okay.
I think, are my top 3 wooded courses.
Makes sense.
I haven't played Maple Hill, which I think is wooded.
It
And I
is
think-
a lot of it is wooded. Yeah.
And then is it Fox Run or is it the other one at GMC is wooded? I feel like there's one wooded course
Smuggler's
out there
Notch?
that people love. Is it
I
Smugglers?
think Smuggler.
There's a course out there that I think is kind of wooded that people really like as
there
well.
is one that's pretty popular out there.
I haven't played those, so I'm not. Obviously, I can't put those into that list. But I have to say, challenging, very
Yeah.
challenging course. You've got some holes that require, like the par fours. You have some holes that are like placement. And if you don't get in the right place off the tee, like short placement too, like I'm talking like sub 300 placement, sub 300 second shot placement.
Yeah.
That can be very tricky. That's cool. And then you got those mixed in with like, you got to throw 400 feet. You got to throw another 400 feet. I like that. I didn't get through a single hole that felt like I've already played this hole before.
Okay.
Or felt like was unfair.
Yeah.
And to me, that it's got scoring separation. You can bogey every single hole out there. You can birdie every single hole out there. It's a really good course. It's a really good course.
I mean, if every course that I've ever played that like is wooded and is a good course is like, yeah, if you can play every single hole and every single one of them, you feel like you can't get cheated. And I would say, for me, like, just because there is a 5-foot fairway like 300 feet down the line, that's still not really fair to me.
Correct.
Like, I'm talking about
the fairways are good. Yeah, the fairways are good. Good width.
Yeah,
they're not too short.
Because like
I don't
mind like heavy punishment if you miss the fairway. Like, as long as there's an opportunity that if you throw a good shot, you are going to have a good result. That's really all a wooded course needs. I mean,
And I think this one does a good job. And I think this might be the future of woods golf. I haven't really thought about that until this point of where you have no trees in the fairway at all for the first shot, for your tee shot on like par fours or par 5. No trees. But your second shot, you have tons of trees.
Okay.
And I like that a lot because you don't get punished off the tee shot for throwing a good shot. But someone that doesn't throw a good shot off the tee shot, their second shot now is extremely difficult because now they have to not only scramble out of whatever rough they're in, but they also don't have a clear shot to the basket.
Yeah.
Where now someone that throws a perfect shot, tee shot, they also don't have like the automatic birdie of like, oh, you just threw a perfect tee shot, 250-foot upshot, nothing your way. Here's your birdie. So I thought this course does a really good job of not that much like tree. I mean, obviously there are very, very tight shots off the tee pad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're not going to get punished by throwing down the fairway and having it nick a tree in the fairway and go into the rough. So that was kind of cool to see. And then Eureka on the flip side is just a really fun course. I think you would really like playing both these courses. You guys should come out here one year.
Yeah,
this is a good tournament to come out to.
Yeah, I think we definitely will. I would love to play Eureka. I mean, Northwoods, it just kind of has a reputation. I agree. I'd much rather see players have the difficult shot come second shot because I think watching people hit first available off the tee pad is just like depressing. Like, it's not fun to watch. Like, I don't mind somebody trying to scramble and hitting an early tree, but off the tee, it's like, I want to see tee shots get out there. I'd rather see a tee shot turn errant as it gets down the fairway rather than
10 feet
like
off the
10
fairway.
feet off the fairway. So
have like a quick gap.
Yeah, so I like that. Yeah, there's nothing I hate worse than like a gap that is like so close to the tee pad that you can practically touch it with your hand from your throw. I can't stand that. There is like this obsession in disc golf to like, oh my gosh, look at these trees that are like 4 feet apart. What if we had the end of the tee pad just end right in the middle of this gap? Or like why do they do that? I don't understand. I see it all the time, and
I think you're right in the sense of like it definitely can be a fun hole to play, but does it have the best look?
Yeah, no, I think it looks
in a product.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's tough because if all 4 players throw through it, then you basically are like, oh, that's not hard at all.
Yeah.
But if one person misses, the problem with that is now you have someone that literally just threw 4 feet off the tee, and now it's like an awkward situation.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I haven't really thought about that. Like how far away should like the first gap be that you need to hit?
Yeah, I like if I'm fine with like a consistent fairway length, like all the way back to the tee. I just don't like when it's like I remember they did it at the Portland Open like 2 years ago when they first went to the golf course, and there was a few tees where it was like, okay, there's no defense for this hole because we're throwing it into a golf fairway. So let's just put the tee pad pointing at this tiny little gap. And then like nobody hit any of those trees the whole event. So it just kind of looked stupid. Like now you're just blocking the view of the throw.
That makes sense too, yeah.
And like, I mean, there's one hole at WR Jackson, I think was it 17, the one that has a tiny gap. So you have to go up the hill and then you kind of turns right. Very tough par 4.
Yes, 17's very tight gap
so
off
that,
the tee.
It has that little gap, and like, and maybe this is just like from the experience of playing it in college, but I think it just created weird scenarios where like only one person would miss the gap, and then like it's almost like too severe of a punishment. It's kind of like that miss big, miss small argument where it's like if you're missing big, a lot of times you get luckier than the people that miss small.
That is true.
And so when you have gaps like that, you'll see people who miss big and they either hit the tree square and land right in front of it, or they'll miss big and miss it completely and go like around it.
Go way far down, yeah.
And then you'll have people that miss small and just get kicked to oblivion right off the front of the tee box. And now they're punished so drastically for that. Like I think the whole miss big, miss small thing can only be fine-tuned so much. So I think you should try to avoid like
I came up with this I came up with a solution one episode. It's billboards.
What? What does that mean?
Tree billboards. So
okay.
you essentially like, okay, if you have a gap with here, and you're like, I don't want people to like be able to miss the gap and still go up. You put billboards with signs and sell that space, and so people are just drilling the billboards.
Well, it's basically like it's basically what the Zuka cart thing is that people throw through.
Yeah, that big huge huge thing. Yeah, exactly.
It's basically that.
Yeah.
Well,
but you can do it in trees.
You could just make it a double mando,
Yeah, that is the other thing you could do.
But I mean, billboards are cool too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can sell space, ad space.
It's all about ad space.
I do think, though, going back to Eureka, I do think that course you guys would both love it because it has some really good shots of where the risk is there and the reward is there. And it's not just like on one or two holes. Well, all these holes are iconic.
Hunter has played Ledgestone.
Yeah, he's played it.
Yeah,
This is where I initially kicked him off my bag. This was the first spot. I did it at Idlewild as well, but this was the first location.
Yeah,
I lost my Thrasher in the practice field, and I couldn't. Not
a good time.
Couldn't recover. I will say, since I haven't played Eureka in 2 years, it is a lot easier now. As far as the shots I'm able, like I remember, I'm trying to think of what hole it is. I think it's 8. It's right before the bridge par 3. So
there was a forehand that you were struggling with big time last time around. I think it was
every forehand. My forehand was so bad.
I just remember there was one where you just had to like get off the tee with just like a hyzer forehand, and you could not throw it at all.
Yeah, the forehand was so bad. But this hole I think it's 8. It's right before the bridge hole where you throw the par 3 off the bridge.
Yeah,
it's got like a 30-foot gap, maybe 200 feet off the fairway of where it's just like a bunch of trees and bushes to the left, a bunch of trees and bushes to the right. And you're throwing like an open field, and then you gotta get through this little gap into another open field. And walking up to it, Gannon's like, "Oh, you probably doing the hyzer route." I was like, "What?" He's like, "You're probably doing the hyzer route." And I remember I had played with Aiden Girthy, who, for those that don't know, this guy throws so far. And he did this when I played with him. And I was like, "My gosh, who would ever do that?" And now, like, when you get to the point of, like, as you increase your distance, like, you start looking for shots that you would not have in the past. Like,
most definitely.
Yeah, if you can only throw 400 feet, you're not looking at potentially, can I get over these trees that are 300 feet away and 60 feet high? Like, you're like, you already do the math, like, no. But I'm probably just going to throw like if the wind's right, the wind was a tailwind, so it was a good wind. I'll probably just throw like a hyzer all over these trees and like take the gap out completely. So like, there's certain shots like that obviously make the course a lot easier. But again, it's one of those courses where if you're throwing good, you're throwing it in bounds, you're going to score well. And if you have an off day or you're not putting well, you can easily shoot over par out there. So it's still a good course, I think, in my opinion. And if the wind is up, then that course gets obviously drastically more difficult.
Oh, yeah, it gets way tougher.
But I think there's going to be an overall pretty fun tournament. I think there's going to be a decent amount of people, good crowd, which is always awesome.
Well, it should be packed just because the size of the Am field.
2,000 people playing.
Yeah, there's so many people at that event. I don't like. You think about the amount of money they're bringing in; it's crazy. It's. I think it's the largest tournament in the world at this point. So.
I think you have to still do that, though. I think for a lot of these places, you have to have some sort of like events and stuff going on to attract the people to come out. And then now that they're already coming out, they might as well watch. Because I don't think you're going to have like the person from Chicago that's like 2 hours away. I don't know if that person, if they weren't playing in the tournament, I don't know if they're making the 2 hour drive to come watch. So
yeah,
that is an interesting strat.